Good morning. We're on 98A, 9 lines from the top. V'yamar Rabbi Abba, continuing to discuss the days of Mashiach. Ein lecha ketz megula mizeh. This is the most open, clear indication of the end, that the end has arrived, the end times. Shenamar, v'yatem harei Yisrael an pechem titenu uperichem tisu lami Yisrael. You, the mountains of Israel, you'll give forth your branches and your fruit for my people Israel. So, in other words, when, as is commonly stated in our days, um, when the land starts to bear fruit again and it's not a desert, that's a sign of the end times. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Af Mizeh. Also, this is another clear indication. Shenemar, before those days, there was no wages for man or for animals. And for the comers and goers, there's no peace from the enemy. What does that mean for the goers and comers? There's no peace for the enemy. Hi, Stan. Good morning. We're on 98A, about 10 lines from the top. We're interpreting this pasuk, "My le'yotzev labai in shalom minatzar." Rav Amar Af Talmidei Chachamim. Even Torah scholars, Shakasu Bohem Shalom, about whom peace is discussed. Tzchiv Shalom Ravat Leo Vesar Sacha, as it says, your lovers of your Torah will have much peace, great peace. Ein Shalom Ibnei Tzar. Even the Torah scholars will not have peace from their enemies. So Shmuel Amar, but Shmuel says, Ashiyu Kol HaShe'arim Kulan Shkulin, means that all the prices will be level. That's how he interprets this pasuk, that everything will be cheap, basically. Or maybe everything will be high, but prices will be uniform. Mashiach won't come until people will look for fish as medications, and you won't find any. Then I'll make their waters calm and make the rivers flow like oil. And then it says, on that day I will blossom a branch for Israel. So the rivers as oil, like saying that the rivers will be as oil, that means the fish can't live there. So it's interpreted as when there's no fish to be found. And why medication? I don't know. Maybe fish was a common, like castor oil. I don't know. Maybe it was a common medication. So that indicates that Mashiach is coming. Amar Rav Chama bar Chanina, Ema David ba, Mashiach won't come ad shetichla malchus hazalam Yisrael, until petty government has stopped from Israel. Well, we clearly haven't reached that yet. Shenemar v'karas hazalzalim b'mazmeros. He'll cut off the shoots with scissors, pruning shears. Uksiv basrei ba'yisehi yuval shayla Hashem tzvos imu mushach umara. And after that, it says a gift will be brought to Hashem, a people pulled and torn. Um, so. In other words, after the people have been pulled and torn, then the Mashiach will come. Amar Zira Amar Chanina, Ema David Ba Sheyichlu Gasei Haruach Yisrael. Mashiach won't come until the arrogant people until there are no more arrogant people in Israel. Shemar Ki Az Asir Mikirbech Alizi Gavasech. Then I'll remove from within you those who are happy about your arrogance. And then it says Visharti Bikirbech Am Ani Vadal V'Chasu B'Shem Hashem. I'll leave among you humble people, humble and poor people, and they will take shelter in the name of God. So taking shelter in the name of God is understood as Mashiach. Amar Rabbi Simon Mishum Rosh Rabbi Shimon Iman David Ba Ad Sheyichlu Kol Shotrim V'Shotrim Yisrael, until there are no more judges or police in Israel. Shenemar Vashiva Yadi Alayich Vasroch Kabar Sigayich. I will turn my hand against you and clean away your and clean you uh, with soap or lye, vashiva shavtaich, and then I will restore your judges. Um, uh, so the yeah, like scrubbing you clean is understood as Mashiach, and vashiva shavtaich. Um, I will return your judges implies that they weren't judges until now. So so I guess this idea that Mashiach will only come once the judges are all gone, then Mashiach will come and the judges will be restored. Amar Ula, and Yerushalayim Niste Sel B'Tzedakah, Yerushalayim will only be redeemed through charity. Shnemar Tzia B'Mishpat Tzipadevet Shaveh B'Tzedakah. Zion will be redeemed through justice, and those who return will be redeemed through tzedakah, through charity. Amar of Papa, I Batle Yehire. If the arrogant people disappear, then Batle Amgushe. Then the Amgushe are the one second, what these are. Yeah, some kind of magic workers or of Avodah Zarah. So if we would stop being arrogant, then the Avodah Zarah will cease. Ibatli Daine, and if the judges disappear, Batli Gazir Pate, then the Gazir Pate, who are the enforcers against the Jews, they will also disappear. Ibatli Hire, Batli Ambushe, where do you get the first idea? The pasuk we just quoted. I'll clean you with soap and remove all your tin. Um, so uh, if you're so we already said that Sigaich refers to the arrogant, and so the B'dilaich refers to the um, okay. The note here says that bedil, which means tin, is related to the word muvdal, separate, like people who are separate from the fear of God. There's some homiletical interpretation of the pasuk. Vi batli daine batli gazir pate. Where do you get the second idea that if there are no judges, then you'll lose the enforcers? God has taken away your judgment, meaning referring to homiletically to the judges, and then he'll clean out your enemies, and the enemies are understood to be the enforcers. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. If you see a generation that is becoming less and less, then they expect Mashiach to come soon. You'll save a impoverished people. If you see a generation that suffers through many troubles, like a river, then expect Mashiach to come soon. Shenemar ki yavob kanahar tsar ruach Hashem nosasavo. When troubles come like a river, then the Spirit of Hashem will devour with it. And after that it says, and then a Redeemer will come to see him. This is a commonly quoted from this Gemara. Mashiach will only come to a generation that is either completely righteous or completely wicked. Your people are all righteous, and so they will always inherit the earth. That's the Darshikul Zakai, that's the Tzadikim. But Darshikul Chayav, and what's the source for a generation that's all wicked? Vayar Kien Ish, Vaish Tomeim, Kien Mafia. He saw that there was no one there, and he was amazed that there was no one to intercede. And then it says, for my own sake, for God's own sake, I will do. Meaning that will bring when there's no one, no good people left, then God will intervene on his own behalf, for his own sake. Amar Alexandri. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Rami. Rabbi Yeshua asks, Ksiv be'ita uksiv achishana. So the pasuk says, Ani Hashem be'ita achishana, talking about the messianic times. I am God. In its time, I will hurry it along. Zachu. So it's contradictory. Like on one hand, it's in its proper time. On the other hand, it's hurried along. Which is it? Those are contradictory. Zachu achishana. So he explains if the people merit, then it will come quickly. Lo zachu beita, but if they don't merit, then they'll have to wait until the set time. Amar Alexandri, Rabbi Shua Levi Rami, Rabbi Shua asked, Ksiv va'aru im anane shemaya kavar anoshata. Ase. It says, with the clouds of the heavens, someone like a man came. Um, Uksiv ani rochev al chamor, and it also says it's a poor man riding on a donkey. So which is it? Is it somebody like riding the clouds, which suggests a majestic bearing, or is it a humble person riding on a donkey? So zachu iman neshmaya. If the people merit, then they get the majestic bearing. Lo zachu ani rochev al chamor. If not, then they get the humble bearing. Amalei Shmuel Malchol Shmuel, King Shapor said to Shmuel, Arisu Mashiach al Chamarasi, you're saying that Mashiach will come on a donkey. Ishader le Susia Barkad Isli, like, why should he use a donkey? If it's Mashiach, I'm going to, give him my best horse. Amalei Meislach Bar Chivar Gavne, do you have a horse of 100 colors? Like, in other words, like, do you have a horse that's good enough for Mashiach? You can't, you can't find a fine enough horse for Mashiach, so it might as well be on a donkey. Rabbi Shua ben Levi Ashkach Eliyahu. Rabbi Shua ben Levi happened upon Eliyahu, to Havakaime Apischa Dimarta to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who was standing at the opening of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai's cave. Amalei, he asked Eliyahu, Asinal Almadasi, will I get into Olam Haba? Into the world to come. Amalei, he asked him, Im yirtza Adon hazeh, if God wants, you'll get in. Amar Shubin Levi, Shnaimer Isi, v'kol shlosha shamati. I saw two people, but I heard the voice of three people. So, in other words, like, I saw just Elio and himself, but he heard like the Shekhinah, right? He heard another voice. What's up with that voice? Um, Amalei, so he asked, so he realized that he's getting some, like, prophecy or some. I mean, Elio's word is not good enough for him, but if he hears the Shekhinah, then he hears another voice, then he figures it's a divine voice. So then he asked another question: Amos Nasi Mashiach, when is Mashiach coming? Amalei, go ask him yourself. Rabbi Levi says, where am I going to find him? Apischa de Karta, he's sitting at the city gates. Simani, how am I going to know who he is? Yasiv bene aniye sov lechalaim. He's sitting among the poor people that are sick. The Kulan Sharava Asire Bechad Zimna, all of them are, unwrapping and wrapping their bandages at the same time. But he, the Mashiach, Shtar Echad V'Asir Chad, like everybody else, unwraps all their bandages and then wraps them up again with fresh bandages, I assume. And he does one by one. He'll first do the bandage on his left arm, and then replace it, and then the right arm, and then replace it, etc. And why does he do that? Amar, because he says Dilma mi ba'ina, because Yaakov, like, maybe I need to be ready all the time in case I'm summoned to be the Mashiach. So that's why I don't take off all the bandages. It'll take me too long to put them all back on. I just do them one by one. So I'm always almost ready. Azulagami. So Rabbi Shua ben Levi goes and finds him. Amalei says Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Mari. Greetings, my master and teacher. Amalei, Mashiach said to him, Shalom Aleichem Bar Levi. Shalom to you, son of Levi. His name was Yeshua ben Levi. Amalei, Leivos Asimar, when are you coming already? Amalei, Hayom, today. Great. Also, Eliyahu, Rishon and Levi goes back to Eliyahu. Amalei, my Amalafi. Eliyahu says, what did he say to you? Amalei, he answers, Shalom Aleichem Bar Levi. He said, he greeted me as Bar Levi. Amalei, Avtach Lach V'lavuch La'alma Da'aseh. So by saying that, he tells you that both you and your father are going to be in Olam Haba, which was your first question. Amar Levi, Shubin Levi says, Shakuri Kal Shakarbi. He lied to me. Do Amar Li Hayom Asina V'lo Asa. He told me I'm coming today. The day's over. He hasn't come. Amalei, Hachi Amalach. This is what he was saying to you. Hayom imikolos hishmo. He's going to come today, but only if the people merit it, if you listen to God. And that condition wasn't fulfilled. So what he was saying was, I'm ready to come any day, which is what indicated by the sign of the bandages. I'm ready to come any day, but you have to deserve it. Shaul told me of Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. Rabbi Yossi was asked by his students, Amosai ben Daviba, when's Mashiach coming? Amar, he said, Misyari Nishama Tavashim Manilos. I could tell you, but then you're going to ask me to prove it. You're going to ask me for some kind of a sign. Amrulay, no, just tell us. We won't ask you for any proof. Amrulahem, he says, when this gate falls and is rebuilt. Um, V'yipol v'yibana, and then falls again and is rebuilt again. V'yipol, and then falls a third time. Vein speaking livno socha ben David ba. Then, before it's rebuilt the third time, that's when Mashiach will come. Amar lo, Rabbeinu tein lanos, give us a sign. Give us some kind of proof. Amar lahem v'lo kach amartem li she'en tem avashim menios. You promised you weren't going to ask for a sign. Amar lo, they said, afal pichein. Nonetheless, we still want a sign. Amar lahem, he said, im kach yehafchu me miyaris pamias l'dam. You want a sign? Let this cave, the waters of this cave, turn into blood. And that happened. Okay. B'shas P'tirasa, Amarlan, when he was about to die, he said to them, Hamikuli Arani, bury me really, really deep. Why? She'ein kol dekel v'dekel shebebavel, she'ein sus shel parsim nikshabo. Now he's talking about the upheavals before the end times, the wars and so on, the apocalyptic times before the Messianic age. At that time, um, there's going to be all these horses of the horsemen of the soldiers of the Babylonians. They're all going to be tied to palm trees. And they're going to dig up all the coffins to use as troughs for all the horses of the Median horses. So in other words, like bury me really deep because, well, that way maybe they won't find my coffin and use it as a trough for the horses. Amarav, Ein ben David Bosh, Tispashi Malchus al Yisrael Tisha Chadashim. Mashiach won't come until some other kingdom has rules over Yisrael for 9 months. Shemar. לכן יתנם עד עש ילדה ילדה ויסר אחיו ישוב על בני ישראל. So he'll give them up until the time that one who gives birth has given birth, which is, of course, 9 months is a gestation period, and then the rest of his brothers will return with the people of Israel. Amarula, Yeseh v'lo achmine. I hope that Mashiach comes, but I don't want to see him. Presumably referring to this apocalyptic period of the pre-Messianic days of suffering and upheaval. He doesn't want to, he's like, I'm happy if Mashiach comes, but I don't want to be around to have to live through the difficult times. Rabba said the same thing. Rabbi Yosef Amar, let him come, and I want to be there, even if I have to sit in the shadow of his donkey's dung. In other words, I'm willing to suffer in order to see the Mashiach. Amarle Abaye L'Rabba Maitama. Why don't you want to see him? Ilema Mishum Chavol Shel Mashiach. If it's because you don't want to suffer beforehand, Vatanya Shalu told me is Rabbi Eliezer. Elazar, the Rabbi Elazar's students asked him, Mashiach. How can you be saved from the suffering before Mashiach? Busy yourself with Torah and with kindness. Umar HaTorah, and you, Rabbah, like you have Torah and kindness, so why are you afraid of the suffering before Mashiach? You'll be saved from it. Yeah, it's true, I have it now, but maybe I'll sin, and if I sin, then I won't be protected anymore. Kid Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, where do you get this idea of being worried about losing your protection due to sin? From Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi Rami, he asks this question. On one hand, it says, God promises Yaakov when he has the dream of the ladder, I'm with you and I will guard you wherever you go. When Yaakov later encounters Esav, he's very afraid. So why is he afraid? if he was promised by God that God would protect him, because that was then, and this is now. That God promised him then that he would protect him, but Yaakov feels maybe I sinned and I don't merit the protection anymore. That's why I'm afraid. Kidatanya. Another example of this is the Brisa. Ad Yavram Hashem Zubiyarishana in the Shira, or it says, until your people cross. That's the first, referring to the first crossing into Eretz Yisrael. Ad Yavram Zukanisa, until this people crosses in the people that you have acquired. That's the second time, the second coming into Eretz Yisrael. In other words, after the first goes. Emramiata. So what are you going to say? Ruim hayu Yisrael asas lemnes b'via shnia. So, the first time they came into Israel, there was a splitting of the Yarden. It was miraculous. It should have happened the second time too. Could be Rishon. It should have happened the same as in the first. El Shagar Machait. But they weren't so worthy then. They had acquired sin, and so they didn't get such a great homecoming. Rabbi Yochanan says similarly, he should let Mashiach come, but I don't want to see him. Amalei Rish Lakish asked him, my Tama, why don't you want to see him? Yilim Mishum Dichsiv, Kasher Yanasish Mipnei Ari Ufago Adov Vabayis Samach Yalo Lakir, Hanachash. Maybe you're afraid of this period of the Chavlei Mashiach, that a person will flee from a lion and then he'll encounter a bear. And then he'll flee from that and he'll come home and make it home and put his hand on the wall, and a snake will bite him. In other words, it's going to be a period of just going from one bad thing to another. So, Bo, he says, is that your problem, that you're afraid that that's going to happen to you in Chavlei Mashiach? Bo v'aracha dugmas b'olam hazeh. I'm going to show you in your own life, like right today, that happens too. Bizman shalom yotzei l'sad. The person goes out to the field, upago santer, and and he's encountered by the land surveyor, who has the power to move to fix the boundaries so he can have his land stolen from him, basically. And that Sodoma Kamisha Pagoa Ari, that is comparable to the guy in the pasuk that is encountered by a lion. Nichnas Leir, so he goes back to the city. Pago Gabai. Now the tax collector comes with the tax bill. Kamisha Pagodov. That's the second trouble that falls on you, like the bear in the pasuk. So he comes home. He finds everybody hungry when he comes home. So and he doesn't have any land. He doesn't have any money. That's like the third thing in the pasuk. The guy who gets bitten. So in other words, you're afraid of these troubles following you one after another in Yemos Mashiach. It's going to happen to you now. Like you're not any worse off. Ella. So why you don't want to see Mashiach Mishum Dichsiv? Because it says Shalom Arum Yolei Zachar Madur Isu Kol Gever Yellow Achalasov Kieled V'Nafchu Chobanim Liyarachat. Ask and see, does a man give birth? Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman, like a woman in childbirth, and all faces have turned pale? So what does this mean? My race, you call Gaver. I've seen every man. Amarav Bar Yitzchak Amarav. Misha called Gevura Shalod. Every man doesn't mean man. It means a man. A man it means one with everything. One who has everything, meaning God. So I've seen God. And he's in pain. What does it mean that all faces have turned pale? Means the upper angels and the lower angels. No, sorry, the upper angels and the people below. They'll all be afraid. Halalu Masiyadai, Halalu Masiyadai. Hech Abed Elu Mibnei Elu. When God says, like, I've made everything, how can I destroy one? How can I made all people, so how can I favor one side in a war? In other words, how can I redeem the Jewish people by a war against their enemies? They're also my creations. So that's why everybody's afraid. Amar Papa and Yamarinche, right? Vinafal Torah, an ox runs and it falls. Vazil v'shade le susya beurye. And so you lose the ox, so the owner goes and replaces it with a horse. So the parable seems to be like the ox can't use the trough, so that you let the horse use the trough. Now the ox comes back because he'll like now who do you put in? You have a dilemma. Who are you going to let use the trough? Okay. Amar Rav Gidol Amar Rav. Sin Yisrael the Evle the Achle Shnei Mashiach. People will in the future the Jewish people will enjoy the years of Mashiach. Amar Yosef Shita, of course they're going to enjoy it. The Ella Man Achiluhu, like who then if not us, if not the Jews? Achiluhu Bilak Achiluhu, or Achilak and Bilak, like these are just kind of random names, like of you think some random non-Jews are going to be enjoying the days of Mashiach. It's for us. Lapuke Mida Rabbi Hillel. So Gemara explains that he's separating, he's excluding what Hillel said. Diamar en Mashiach Yisrael. Hillel said there's not going to be a Mashiach for the Jewish people, Shekvar Achlu B'mei Chizkiah, because they already enjoyed a messianic age in the days of Chizkiah, which is a pretty stunning statement that like Mashiach has already come, so there's nothing to look forward to. Um, and so Rav is opposed to that idea. Amarav, Loi Bari Alma Ol David. The world was created only for David. Shmuel Amar Lamoshe. Shmuel said, meaning like the David was worthy enough that the whole world was created just so that David could come about. And Shmuel says, no, Moshe was the ultimate. That's why the world was created, so you can have someone like Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Lamashiach. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, the world was only created. It was created just to experience the future Mashiach. Mashma, what is the name of Mashiach? Dvei Reb Shelah, right? By Reb Shelah, they said Shiloh Shemo. Interesting that his name was Shelah, and he said Shiloh Shemo. Shenemar Adki Yavo Shiloh. Yaakov's bracha to Yehuda was until Shiloh comes, and this is understood as until Mashiach comes. So Shiloh is the Mashiach name. Dvei Reb Yanai, right? Reb Yanai said Yinon Shemo. His name is Yinon. Shenemar Yehi Shemo Li'olam Lifnei Shemesh Yinon Shemo. May his name last forever, for as long as the sun. May his name, literally Yinon means continue, but but here we understand his name is Yinon. Dreiv Chanina Amar, Chanina Shmo. No, his name is Chanina. Shnemar Asher Lo Attain Lachem Chanina. I will not give you literally mercy, but it's understood as the name of Mashiach. Yesh Omrim Menachem Ben Chizkiah Shmo. Some say, and this maybe accords with what Hillel said before. His name is Menachem ben Chizkiah. Shnemar ki racha mimeni Menachem meshiv nafshi, because literally someone to comfort me is far from me, but Menachem was the name of the son of Chizkiah Melech. For Rabbanan, right? Chivara Devei Rabbi Shemo. His name is Chivara, the white one, or someone who has mitzaras of the house of Rabbi. That's his name. Shnemar Achein Chalayenu Hu Nasa Umachavenu Savalam. Indeed, he has carried our illnesses and our injuries. Vanachnu Chashavnuhu Nagua Make Elohim Umuna. And we considered him, someone with nagua, someone with a plague, tsaras. Amar of Nachman, Imin Chayahu, if the Mashiach is alive, Kagon or not, then he's somebody like me. In other words, if the Mashiach was around, it must be somebody like me. Shenemar v'haya adiro mimenu umoshel mikir bo yetze. Their great one, their prince, shall be one of their own, and their ruler will come from within them. So in other words, like Mashiach is going to be a regular guy, like or one of the people. I mean, not just not a random person, but a person from among us. Like he's going to be obviously a great person, but it's not like I think what he's saying is it's not like some supernatural visitation that we're going to get. It's going to be a human being who is like you and me, but he's going to be the great Mashiach. Amar Rav, and Rav says, Imin Chayahu, if the Mashiach is from among the living, could go to Rabbeinu Kadosh, like Rabbi Yudah Nasi. Imin Messiahu, but if he's like someone from the past who's already dead, then could go to Daniel Ish Chamudas. Then he'll be like Daniel. So, okay. Amar Vidam Rav. Asher Gosh Baruch Hu Lahamilem David Acher. another David is coming. In other words, a descendant of David is going to be the Mashiach. Shnemar v'avdu es Hashem Elokeim v'es David Malkam asher akim lahem. They will serve God, the Lord their God, and David their king, who I will set up for them, or raise up for them. Hakim Lamar, and he doesn't use the past tense, that I set up for them. Ella Akim, that I will set up for them, indicating that another David is coming. Amalei Rav Papa Labai, Vaksiv doesn't say David Avdi Nasi Lahem Li'olam. Doesn't say that my servant David will rule over them forever. It sounds like it's referring to the original David, that he's like coming back. Kagon Kesar, Polgi Kesar. So Gemara says, yeah, they'll both be there. They'll be like, the emperor and the Caesar and the vice Caesar, if you will. So. I don't know which is the original David. Is he going to be the chief Caesar or the vice Caesar, or vice versa? You could see it either way. Dara Shravi Simlai, Rav Simlai taught my dechsiv. Hoy hamisavim as Yom Hashem, lama zelachem Yom Hashem huchoshech le'ar. Woe to you who want the day of Hashem. Why should you want that day? It's dark and not light. What does that mean? Mashal trying to go v'atalef. It's like a rooster and a bat. Shayim etzapin le'ar. They're waiting for the sun to come up. Amarle trying to go v'atalef. The rooster says to the bat, "Anim etzapin le'ara shara shalihi." I'm waiting for the light because that's when I start my day. Light is good for me. Bats are nocturnal. What are you waiting for the light for? Why do you want the light to come? Oh, that's what this heretic asked Rabbi Avo. Amos Sayasi Mashiach, when's Mashiach coming? Amalei. When darkness covers those men, those people, meaning euphemistically referring to the Jewish people. Amalei says, "You're cursing me." Amalei, Kruxiv, it's a pasuk. I'm sorry, it doesn't mean the Jewish people. It means you people, like when darkness falls on you. So he says, "You're cursing me." Kruxiv. So Rabbi Avo says it's not me. It's written in the scripture. Darkness will cover the earth, and thick darkness will cover the nations. And on you, Yisrael, Yizrach Hashem, God will shine, and His glory will be seen on you. Okay, we'll stop here for today, and David will pick up tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.